Aaron Rodgers kind of likes the idea of the LA Rams if he ends up getting released, which he will be. He's earmarked to be released by the New York Jets. They're parting ways. He's a designation in June. So he can also talk to teams right now. He can have a discussion with teams. It's not tampering if it's a vested veteran that is being parted ways with by the organization. So Aaron Rodgers might find or line up his home quicker than anybody. And Stafford and the Rams are trying to work out a long-term deal, but they can't come to an agreement. We've got wide receivers in Cincy that want to get paid. We've got a warning issued by Cam Ward to the NFL teams that don't draft him. We have Davante Adams saying he wouldn't mind going to play for the Chargers if he gets released, and he probably will be released by the New York Jets, who are turning a page and trying to shake things up and get back to the defense and ground game led by Breece Hall, which I totally Smitty approve. We've got Adonai Mitchell. We've got Sam Darnold. We've got more news. We'll get to all of that. The Fantasy Football Show, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday. Additionally, live whenever news breaks. That show begins right now. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Live whenever news breaks. We're also on the Dynasty channel. Go watch the video I just dropped on this beauty right here. MHJ versus Tet McMillan in Dynasty face-off style. Go watch it. It's in the description of the video, the Dynasty channel link. Go check it out and do it live. We're back over on this screen talking about all these topics here. Let's start off with the Aaron Rodgers topic, then we'll go to Davante Adams because it's kind of linked. Aaron Rodgers, according to Adam Schefter, he believes that Aaron Rodgers would be thrilled with the idea of going to Los Angeles if the Rams and Matthew Stafford can't come to an agreement. And again, Stafford and the Rams are trying to come to a long-term deal and agreement. Stafford is guaranteed, not guaranteed a single dollar, but the Rams aren't comfortable giving him a long-term deal. So Stafford is saying, I know I'm getting paid a bunch of money, but none of it's guaranteed. The Rams can walk away. Stafford wants more money locked up long-term. There is a chance that the Rams trade him. And if they trade him, whatever team acquires him will most certainly lock him down to a 2, 3, 4-year deal. Could be very front-loaded. Could be an out after 2 years. Maybe even an out after 1 year with more guaranteed money. But Stafford could end up going to the Raiders. Stafford could go to another situation that a lot of us haven't really thought about or cooked up all that much. There are a ton of locations that might be interested in Matthew Stafford. You know, you look around the NFL and you say to yourself, okay, Pittsburgh Steelers, who knows where that could go. The New York Jets and New York Giants. I kind of think that if Stafford does leave, he's going to New York, to the Giants. If he leaves. I don't think he's leaving. I think it's possible. I'm not sitting here trying to plant a flag on that prediction necessarily, but if Stafford does leave, I believe it's New York. I believe New York is the one team that would overpay and risk the biscuit, kind of like the Falcons did with giving all that money to Kirk Cousins. He's always got a broken back or some sort of crazy injury. He's going to retire. He's not going to retire. It doesn't feel like a very secure $100 million deal. But if anybody's going to go invest to build around the wide receiver Malik Nabers, it would 100% be, in my opinion, the New York Football Giants. And I love the idea of Stafford throwing and making Malik Nabers his Puka Nakua. Now, if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Rams and Stafford goes to the Giants, Puka Nakua takes a dump. I'm not saying he's not a good receiver. I'm not saying he's not a low-end wide receiver one, but I wouldn't draft him in the top 15 if he's sitting there with Aaron Rodgers and no longer has, Matthew Stafford. Now, this is all we're cooking up a bunch of rumors. It's smoke season. No one's trying to suggest that these are all anything in motion. A lot of things can't be in motion. Aaron Rodgers can have discussions. He can't have a workout or a contract signed, but Aaron Rodgers can discuss with teams. And it's been kicked around a lot that the Rams are uncomfortable giving Stafford what he wants, and Stafford wants it or he doesn't want anything. Now, will Stafford dial back his, threats and paper tiger posture? Maybe. Maybe Stafford's just playing hardball, and at the end of the day, he wants to go nowhere. But his wife keeps going to Twitter and social media. Matthew Stafford's wife is worse than a combination of Patrick Mahomes' brother, Patrick Mahomes' father, and all of the Travis Kelce drama. It's like this team is reportedly, and multiple people have reported this, a lot of talking heads and people making assumptions and assuming a lot. Okay, so take it with a grain of salt, but a lot of big talking heads have constantly said this offseason that the Rams are growing tired of Matthew Stafford's wife meddling in everything, getting on social media, putting this team in the spotlight, speaking for Matthew Stafford, creating drama and controversy. And the Rams, according to these talking heads, not anything confirmed, right? The Rams are getting sick and tired of Mrs. Stafford meddling in these situations. And it's possible that the Rams do, in fact, say, you know what, Matthew Stafford, we can't give you what you want. And Matthew Stafford can get the money he wants. And if the money is important to him, we don't know. Maybe Matthew Stafford says, you know what, I'll take the money that's not guaranteed to me, but it will become my money this year. But I'm not guaranteed anything long term. I'll take it and I'll walk away and I'll have more money than I can ever spend. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe Matthew Stafford's wife wants more money. Maybe that's what this is all about. Maybe they're willing to, maybe she's putting the clamps on Matthew Stafford and Stafford's just a puppet in Matthew Stafford's wife's world. And maybe she's saying, we're going to get, because she meddles in everything. She speaks for him. He never shuts it down. And maybe she's like, oh, we're going somewhere to get 2-3 more years because that's my money. And so she's going to potentially guide this ship, maybe. We don't know. It's a lot of rumor, a lot of speculation, but she's certainly in the way, and there's a lot of people talking about it. So don't think that Stafford's not gone. And I'm telling you right now, Puka Nacua's value, it does hinge completely on McVay's system, and Matthew Stafford. If any of those components are disrupted, McVay, the system itself, and Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua drops 2, 3, 4 wide receiver spots minimum. If anybody thinks Puka Nacua is going to survive without Matthew Stafford this year at the level and cost of entry, if you think your ROI and return on investment is going to be solid at 4 or 5 overall, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, I'm just warning you that there is a possibility that if you're stacking all your teams at Puka Nacua at 4 and 5 and 6 overall, you might want to pump the brakes a little bit and say, let me get a little bit, sure. But let me also mix around different teams, especially if you're on Underdog. Promo code Smitty. Link is being dropped in the live chat right now. Underdog will match your first deposit 50% all the way up to $1,000. Smash that link. Code Smitty gets it done as well. But I'm just telling you, pump the brakes on putting it all on Nacua in case this thing goes awry. Not to mention Puka Nacua is literally, even though he's an amazing player, capable of number 2, number 3, number 4 wide receiver numbers in 2025. I'm not denying that, but he's probably the most capable top 15 overall player to get injured in fantasy football. Say what you want. Call in, debate me. The phone line will be open in a minute. You can say whatever you want, but we'll shut it down. Aaron Rodgers, who knows where he plays? Could retire. Could be in New York. Could be, it could be New York Giants. Could be in LA. Could be as a Raider. Could be in Minnesota. Probably not. And we'll talk about why in a second. Minnesota, remind me if I go off on a tangent to go to Sam Darnold after Davante Adams. But while we're on the topic, that's Adonai Mitchell. Here's my Davante Adams news. Davante Adams, according to this report, this comes from SI Now, who spoke to Davante. Davante is reportedly intrigued by the Chargers if the Jets release him, and I do believe the Jets will release him. I don't think there's a market. There could be. We don't know. Could be. Maybe this kid gets released. Old man gets released and heads right over to the Chargers. The only thing that would make me think no is that, and maybe Harbaugh learned from his mistake, but Harbaugh got rid of the number 5 wide receiver. When Harbaugh stepped into that Chargers situation, you just had Keenan Allen produce number 5 wide receiver numbers, he traded him away for a ham sandwich. Not a warm one, not a cold one, a moldy ham sandwich that wasn't even cut properly at the angle. It was cut like down the middle to where there's 2 rectangles. It was crazy. Crazy. Just handed him over to the Chicago Bears. Not that he played to his full potential. The Bears situation was a nightmare. But Keenan Allen just produced top 5 numbers. Adams isn't on the level that Keenan Allen was on that year. Coming off of that 2023 top 5 wide receiver season, Adams is definitely tailing down. So maybe Harbaugh learned from his mistake. Maybe Harbaugh's oblivious to how much time Adams has left. But it is going to be wild if he goes ahead and tries to, do this. But I know if Adams is released, he's a lot cheaper, right? But he's still going to have to pay him a pretty decent amount. Adams will command, because he'll be the top wide receiver in free agency potentially, maybe outside of Godwin and Higgins. Higgins isn't a free agent really. He's going to be tagged here in a second. Tags open up today. They can tag, obviously, him at any time between now and the deadline. They don't have to tag him now. Teams sometimes will wait so they don't piss off the player and kind of, stunt the negotiation potential. So they'll kind of be like, look, we can tag you. We don't want to do that because of the way it's going to feel. So we're going to hold off on that. Sometimes teams are like, screw it. We've talked to you all offseason. Boom, tag on day 1. But Higgins, excluding Higgins, Godwin, who's 28, Adams, these are very arguable pieces. If Adams becomes a part of this free agent pool, you're still going to have to pay him a lot because he's the number, Higgins excluded, the number 1 or number 2 or tied for the number 1 free agent. And the free agent board is bleak. It is very, very thin. The running backs are almost non-existent. JK's got some appeal. Darnold and Fields, some appeal. Aaron Rodgers, a tiny bit of appeal. It's really, if Higgins does become in the conversation of available via trade on the franchise tag, then he's not a free agent necessarily. As soon as he's tagged, we're just going to put a tag next to him. And it's going to not include him really anymore. We can almost move him down in here because he'll be tagged under that contract, which is $26 million per year for the 1 year on the tag. He's essentially got to sign the contract, but T. Higgins will be obligated at some point to that $26.1 million deal. He has to play on it at some point. It becomes attached to him whether he signs it or not at some point. But if he doesn't sign it, it's not technically his contract yet, but he's not a free agent anymore. He's tagged, he's under contract once he signs it, and a team that can trade for him can give him a new deal. So T. Higgins excluded, Adams and Godwin would be the hottest names on this free agent board. Above the quarterbacks, above everything. So Adams will cost a little bit. Is Harbaugh and the Chargers willing to go in the direction of what they should have just kept in Keenan Allen and spend the money? I don't know. Sam Darnold, I told you to keep me here, so let's go to Sam Darnold next. This report, this gets interesting each day. It gets a little bit more interesting. Sam Darnold feels like he's gone. He's going to go wine and dine with other teams, right? Then you hear that he could get tagged. Then you hear that he's not going to get tagged. This report here, let me pull up the information here that corresponds with this. This is according to Schefter. Tag time starting today through Tuesday, March 4. So we have today, started at 4 p.m. Eastern. Today through March 4, teams have to designate their franchise tag player, their transition players, and they got to throw those tags on them. They have until the 4th, though, to do so. And it is expected that it's going to be a quiet tag cycle, according to Adam Schefter and the boys. T. Higgins with the Bengals, the Sam Darnold potential tag, or Murphy Jr., or potentially Trey Smith. Not very many players even considered for the tag. Now, Sam Darnold being in the mix again is interesting because it felt like the Vikings, and again, the Vikings haven't spoke on it. It's all speculation and smoke, but it's been feeling like, OG, appreciate your 12-month membership. About to land in Vegas. Just want to Chase Brown. Chase Brown, appreciate you, OG. Appreciate you for checking in. Safe travels. Sam Darnold is now, according to this ESPN report, The Vikings won't rush to place the franchise tag on Darnold and are looking to become aware of the trade market. What this tells me is a couple things. If this is true, now they might have it wrong. The Vikings might want to tag Darnold and keep him and work out a long-term deal and say screw it. Or tag Darnold, play him one more year, overpay for 1 year, hold him in place, prison tag him with the franchise tag, not intend to pay him, open-minded to a trade, but not intended to let him go necessarily. And that way they can let McCarthy heal properly, learn under Darnold, try it out one more time, give themselves a chance for 2026 Sam Darnold conversations, because they could tag him again. It would be 120% the value, but they could tag him again. And it's smart. It's smart. When you really think about it, the Vikings have nothing to lose to tag him, overpay him, do a similar version of the Kirk Cousins and Penix Jr., but without the long-term commitment, just the one single-year commitment. Bank on him for 2025. Start him in 2025. See if he can recapture the glory. And if not, you let him walk again. If he does recapture it, you franchise tag him again next offseason. It's the most beautiful plan. There really is no other plan. When you think about it, it's the only move for the Minnesota Vikings. Not only does it protect you for 2025 and contention for playoff Super Bowl aspirations, but it gives you this powerful trade component where you're like Doc Holliday and you got tuberculosis. You don't care what's going on. You're not scared of anything. They're going to walk into the trade market going, I'm your Huckleberry. You want Sam Darnold? We don't even necessarily want to trade him. He's tagged and we like it. And teams are going to go, holy shit, this guy ain't scared of nothing. And so they're going to approach the Vikings and go, what do you want for him? He's tagged. We'll pay for him. We'll give him a contract, make him happy. Here, why don't we give you this? And you put McCarthy in. Now you got this. Now you can win a Super Bowl because this is better than Sam Darnold and not this player. The Vikings have all the power. Tagging Darnold is a great move. Now, the only speculative, like concerning maybe thought that goes through my head in regards to the way this paragraph is framed. Again, though, speculation not coming from the team. So we start speculating on the framing of the wording of some random write-up that's not even by ESPN. This is CBS Sports reporting on the ESPN reports. You got to be really careful how you start framing things and shaping them. But when you see this and it says, and if it's true, they want to become aware of the trade market. You know what that means? If that is true, if that statement is 100% accurate, what that means is they're saying to themselves, we don't want to tag him and there's no market and then we're screwed. We want to see if the tagging of him, the trade market of him is solid. And if it backfires, we'll keep him. But we really want to tag him because we know that someone's willing to pay for him on the tag because the quarterback market is so bleak. So many teams need a passer. There's only 2 good rookie quarterbacks, maybe 3 if you include Dart. There's only 3 really good, promising rookie quarterbacks right now. Joe Milton, no one really believes in, even though I do. There's not a lot to fill these vacancies. So you say to yourself, okay, the tag market's pretty good. The trade market, if we tag him, let's do it because worst case scenario, we keep him. That's the only thing that concerns me is if they feel like the tag market's not good, will they back away from the solid move, which is tagging Sam Darnold no matter what? It's the move to make. It's the only move the Vikings should be worried about. Who cares if you pay him big money for 1 year? It's 1 year and you're in contention. This team is contending for not only a playoff berth, but multiple playoff wins with Sam Darnold if he plays the way he played last year. And if he doesn't, so what? You screwed up for 1 year. It's a tag. It's a 1 year contract. And it is what it is. And Sam Darnold, let me tell you this. The power behind this tag as it relates to the Vikings using it. It's different than in other situations. Why? Because Sam Darnold can't F around to find out. Sam Darnold can't say, you know what, I'm going to hold out, then I'm not signing my tag. And they go, okay, well, you're tagged. And now you're missing this. J.J. McCarthy's more healthy. You're now a backup quarterback. And now we did the inverse of what the mother freaking Falcons did. But we feel pretty safe and secure with you on the bench. And now He's a bench quarterback, a backup quarterback that is not starting in the NFL, that now has no market value when he goes into the offseason because he was benched and he never played in 2025, let's say. He can't afford to do that. If he gets tagged, he's going to say, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?" And he's going to go play on the tag for 1 year, bank on himself, make a boatload of money because the quarterback tag is handsome. The quarterback tag is real handsome. There's no reason to complain, cry, and moan when you've been given a second chance in Minnesota. You failed at the end of it, and you're going to be given a franchise tag top 5 average of all the quarterbacks in the National Football League? You out of your mind? The Vikings have all the power in this situation. If I'm the Vikings, I'm smiling ear to ear, and Darnold's tagged no matter what because my options are plentiful. I can do whatever the hell I want. The plethora of opportunity and potential options for me is through the roof. The Vikings are driving in the driver's seat without any worry in the world. As for the Bengals situation, we've got NFL franchise tag window opens today, and the history indications is that there won't be much action until the window is nearly closed on March 4. I disagree with that, so, according to Schefter. I think that Higgins, again, they don't want to piss him off, but at some point, the Bengals will start to use their negotiating tools, and one of which is to say, okay, if you don't like this, we're going to show you that this is where our line is. You're trying to push us and provoke us. We're going to tag you to show you that we're going in the other direction. So I don't know that they'll push it. I'm not saying they won't, but I'm not saying that they'll for sure, not explore using the tag sooner than later, but it doesn't mean they will. It's just, I don't think history is telling us that it's going to be later. It's just, it's going to depend on the flow of the conversation of the potential negotiations. Cam Ward issues a warning to the NFL. He says, if you don't draft me, that's your fault. You've got to remember, or what do you say? You've got to remember that you're the same teams that got to play me the rest of my career. And I'll remember that, says Cam Ward, Miami quarterback. I like this kid. I like Shedeur. I like Cam. I'm not sure if both of them are going to work out. I'm going to be honest with you and tell you that sometimes I don't know everything walking into February and March about every player. That is normal. That's a normal thing. And it's hard to admit that you have an evolving opinion on a player because it makes you feel like, and I'm not saying I do, but a person makes them feel like, oh, well, I'm not going to say it first. We do a lot of, we told you in this building. We told you. We told you. We do a lot of that in this building. And dare I say, we still have enough time to tell people that we told you about Cam, we told you about Shedeur, we told you about Ted McMillan, we told you about this, we told you about that. It's freaking February. Like, we're earlier to the party than everybody, and our determinations and a lot of the things we decide upon as a staple of the show or a direction of the show is still super early, March or whatever. But I'm willing to admit right here that I don't know. Landing spot usually doesn't make me say, oh, I'll wait and see, because I think it's a boring way to approach life. Oh, I'll release my rookie rankings and opinions after landing spots because I'm a boring Bobby and I don't have balls of steel. Well, we do have balls of steel on this channel.
Let him cook.
We do. But here I'm going to use objectivity and say that we do need to know where he goes. We need to know where Shedeur goes. We need to know where Cam goes. It's not shameful to like say, hey, we'll be in, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. He needs to go somewhere great. If he goes to LV, that's fantastic. I love that. Tom Brady there, cultivating. You've got Bowers. You've got other picks they're going to use to maybe they draft a Scattaboo in the next pick or two that they have. This is a great location. If he goes to a situation like Tennessee, I'm not as hyped about it. I don't like Tennessee. I don't think Tennessee reminds me a lot of Chicago, just kind of willing to screw everything up. If Cam went to Cleveland, I'd actually like that. I know Cleveland screwed up a lot, but a lot of it is on the one deal, which was the worst contract and trade in the history of the NFL, the Deshaun Watson absolute debacle, $220 million, fully guaranteed, worst trade in NFL history, worst contract in NFL history, and it reset the market for quarterbacks. It took years to kind of dial back a little bit. Now the market's exceeded it, but it took a while to get things back to normal. It's still a great situation. You got Jerry Jeudy, you've got you got a nice little team here. In Njoku, you got potential. You bring in a potential running back like Scattaboo or a Dylan Sampson or a Hampton or whoever you can in the second round or third round. But you have a very, very nice location. Good defense, good team. Cleveland's pretty good. I think there are a lot of good locations. I just think Tennessee would be where I don't want one of these guys to go. The Raiders I mentioned I love. The Jets would be great if they traded up. The Giants would be great if they traded up. The Seattle Seahawks would be great if they got rid of Geno and traded up. There's a handful of locations. There's really not a bunch of bad locations for these quarterbacks, especially given the draft capital and where these teams sit. But, I mean, what if the Rams went after, made some crazy trade we talked about before? I don't think it's a possibility the way that the trade was presented. It was the number 3 overall pick by the freaking Rams. The thinking was that the Rams would give up the number 3 overall pick to get Shador or Cam Ward over to the Rams. So the Rams would find a way into this 3 pick. Stafford would go over to the Giants. But I think that this would include the Rams first rounder. And then that would make sense. There's no way Stafford commands the number 3 overall pick. That was a dumb concept, whoever cooked up that trade idea. But if it involved like a first round swap where you're getting Stafford and you're moving from 3 down to the Rams pick, the next pick, that makes sense. You know, so there's possibilities. So if he was in, throwing a Puka Nakua, whatever, I'd like that. There's a lot of locations that could be good or bad for Shador and Cam Ward. I really do like him. He could definitely be like a moon man or something to that degree, or a midseason monster. So could Shador, but they do need good locations. That's just the nature of these 2 players in a very questionable QB pool, entering into, in some cases, questionable situations. Adonai Mitchell is looking to grow from his rookie season. Not living up to my own personal expectations is how Mitchell summed up his rookie campaign in Indianapolis in 2024. The second round draft pick caught 23 balls for 312 and 0 touchdowns. Not a good year. I admit I liked him a lot as a rookie, and he just didn't pan out. But there's a lot of upside there. I don't think it's time to give up on him, but certainly draft him late in the draft. Jamar Chase, we've talked about this. The Bengals are fully expected to bring back Chase, T. Higgins, and Hendrickson on long-term deals. That will be their goal, their objective. People can say until they're blue in the face they can't bring back all 3, or they can't even do 2. Not true. Not true. Joe Burrow is willing to smoke less cigars than normal, renegotiate his deal. He said it a dozen times publicly. Not to mention, Joe Burrow wants it. What Joe Burrow wants, Joe Burrow gets. The way it is.
You've just been Smitty approved.
People are getting burrowed left and right, and people are going to remember it.
Get
The stack
burrowed.
above all stacks. It's time to drop the pen.
And I know what a lot of you are going to say, and you're going to say Bengals are cheap. Bengals are cheap. I already can anticipate what some of you are going to write, some of you negative Nellies out there. But teams are cheap. But sometimes, teams will pay. Joe Burrow got paid, okay? Eventually it happens. Jamar Chase was a Triple Crown winner. They're going to pay him. The only thing that is a possibility is they tag Higgins again. Again, we're waiting on that. It's 120% the value of last year's salary, so it's more expensive to tag. You're paying a premium to tag twice in a row. The NFL implemented that so it was less attractive to tag a player multiple times. It helps the player get out of the prison tag, so to speak. I think that at the worst case scenario, Jamar Chase gets his deal. He gets $38 million a year. He's going to get more than 35. He Triple Crown, new year. Yesterday's price is not today's price. You say whatever you want. 37 mil, sure, whatever. 37 to 40. I think 40 is possible. Let the whole offseason play out, and you tell me that 40 is not a possibility. We thought 25 was a lot when Ridley got it. And then as the season went along, Ayuk got 30. When people said Ayuk wanted 30, people said he was out of his mind, and he got 30. He shouldn't have got 30, but he got 30. So Jamar Chase could get 40. If Ayuk can get 30, Jamar Chase should get 90. Anyway, so 40's in the realm, 38, 37, whatever. And then, look, they could tag T and make T play on the tag. You know, T might get mad. He might hold out. He's going to be more injury prone if he does. But the Bengals can be as cheap as they want and still keep the core together. But I think that Joe Burrow wants it. Joe Burrow's going to smoke less cigars and commit to that. It's going to happen, in my opinion. I don't think T. Higgins is leaving. I think Jamar and T. Maybe Hendrickson isn't. On a long time. I don't know. I think that Higgins. It's important to have all three, but I think Higgins and Jamar are not going anywhere. Dial in. The Fantasy Football Show phone lines brought to you by the Attic.shop are now open.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Brought to you by Attic.shop. All right. Phone lines are open. Let's talk Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Rams getting Aaron Rodgers. What happens to Puka? If the Rams can't work out a long-term deal and they're sick and tired of Stafford's wife, Miss Stafford, going to the mic and social media constantly, they're really tired of Stafford's wife in LA. The team seems to be very, very grown tired of her. And I'm not saying that they don't make smart football decisions, that are outside of that concern or worry, but I mean, like at some point it does become a lot. And he doesn't seem to care. He seems to let her run everything. She apparently controls everything because he doesn't ever put, he doesn't put a stop to it. But if Stafford goes to the Giants, that's phenomenal for Malik Nabers. Absolute phenomenal for Malik Nabers. All right, dial to the phone line. Phone lines are open. Travis, you're live. What's up, my boy?
Hey, how's it going? I think I agree with what you were saying. You were saying Shedeur, his landing spot's going to kind of turn things right.
Yeah, I mean, where he goes, nobody knows. But if he goes to the Titans, I don't like him in the Titans situation there. If Cam goes to the Titans, I just don't like the Titans. I don't like the way they build. I don't like the way they judge talent. I don't like the way they think they can win. I don't like the way everybody was so hyped about him last year. They're like, look at all these creative signings. I really kind of like the Titans. They're crafty. And I'm like, no, I didn't like it at all. I didn't like the Titans at all. I don't like Levis. Never have liked Levis. I can't get behind somebody that puts mayonnaise in their coffee. And you can say whatever you want about my little, quirks about seeing a quarterback, like when Drew Lock was on the sideline, just there's certain things where I can just tell this quarterback doesn't have it. You can say mayonnaise. I'm not saying mayonnaise. I'm just saying we all made fun of him for a while. Like, this is a weird dude. He's always doing weird poses and weird, whatever. He's a weird dude. Doesn't carry himself as an elite quarterback or potential star in the NFL at the quarterback position. Just like Caleb doesn't. Just like Caleb doesn't. Just like a lot of quarterbacks don't. Drew Lock didn't. A lot of quarterbacks don't. And the fact that everyone was so excited about the Titans, and I'm just sitting here scratching my head. Why? I want nothing to do with them. So if Shedeur goes there, his growth will be stunted probably. Is there a way he turns the organization around? Sure, but I don't know that I want to bank on it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it can't happen.
Yeah, because
it just puts it at risk.
From what I've seen and read, it seems like he's good at a lot, great at nothing quite yet, but he has that potential. Whereas like Cam Ward, I could almost see him. His landing spot matters too. But even if he ends up somewhere crappy with a bad spot, I could see him maybe like a Jameis Winston, who's able to just chuck it around, throw a ton of interceptions too, and make mistakes, but because he's got a good arm and maybe have a little fantasy value from that standpoint. But I mean, both these guys, you want to see them end up in a good spot.
The thing about Cam Ward, though, that he has over Shedeur Sanders is that this guy he's ventured around. So he's got a lot of ability to adapt to different situations. UIW, he moved over to Wisconsin, then he moved over to Miami. So he's got a lot of experience changing offenses. and I'm sorry, Washington State. Did I say Wisconsin? Washington State, and then over to Miami, and he has the ability to gain, capture, motivate new players, mesh with a new team, like 3 different spots. And the fact that he played well in all 3 locations also is something that's kind of remarkable. Let me put up his stats, because he's played very, very well no matter where he's gone. And it's kind of an intriguing part of evaluating him. Let me put up his career stats in college. And a lot of people said he wouldn't be able to do it. Oh, he's making a mistake. He's going to Florida now. What's he doing? Now he's got to get used to a new system. It's going to set him back. He banks on himself constantly. And he constantly, just like his words of doubt me or don't draft me, that's on you. I mean, look what he's doing. He moves around, and he's very successful. 47 touchdowns, 46-48. And everyone said, oh, but what if you went to a better school? 32, 23 touchdowns, 3,700 yards, 25 touchdowns. Then goes to Miami, 43 and 39 touchdowns, 7 INTs. If there's anything that this kid's taught us, is that he's not an AR5. I know a lot of people like to say, oh, he's going to be the next AR5. He's not a runner like that. So that's a dumb way to even try and tie this kid to somebody in a wrong way. It's stupid. It's just a stupid conversation. Number 2, he's had very good success throwing the ball. 39 TDs, 43-13 passing, only 7 INTs this year, only 7 INTs last year, only 9 INTs the year prior. Doesn't turn the ball over, and he banks on himself, and he executes and is successful doing so. So this is a pretty impressive kid that could be resilient anywhere.
And another thing too is that he had some good weapons, but he didn't have an amazing top 5 drafted weapons. Like I know people would always say, oh, JD5 because of his receivers, which obviously wasn't. But it's nice when you have those guys like a BTJ and stuff like that, and Nabers. And he had, Restrepo was pretty good, and Arroyo, the tight end, was decent. And I think they're running back at 1,000 rushing yards. But it wasn't like any of these guys he was playing with are like jumping off the page.
Yeah. Bianco with the $2 hauler says,
commanding that.
Yeah. Bianco with the $2 hauler says Jalen McMillan. This is not Tet McMillan. For anybody that's like in Tet McMillan, zone right now. Jalen McMillan, the Bucks wide receiver, for 2025 1.10. That's a fair eval of those two aspects, or those two pieces of your team here. Because 1.10, I don't know what it's going to become. It could become Dylan Sampson. It could become Egbuka. Probably not. Egbuka is probably going to go earlier. It could become. I mean, if you think about it, you got Tet McMillan, you got Genty, Tet McMillan in that order. You got Travis Hunter potentially in there. Depends on what is announced about his wide receiver intentions. And I think everybody's completely jumping the gun on assuming he's not playing wide receiver. You guys are out of your minds. If you listen to this kid talk at all, he's got a podcast. He talks about football, wide receiver stuff all the time. He's never dialed that back and said, I'm a D-back. He's constantly talking about being a wide receiver. Why people assume just because he's listed as a DB and he's going to the combine to focus on one thing, and when guys like M.A. Shea and bigger stars are paving the way of, hey, we're too big for the combine. Whether you like it or not, agree with it or not, star players are starting to say the combine's not for me. And so if he's saying the wide receiver side of me is too big for the combine, and you take it, oh, he's going to do DB things, you're misreading it. But, okay, so we'll go Genty, we'll go Tet McMillan, we'll go Hampton, we'll go Scattaboo. We'll go Egbuka. What?
Luther Burden, maybe.
Burden. You are getting to that. Like once you're at 8, 9, 10. 10 could be shaky, but it could be a Dylan Sampson. But if Dylan Sampson's in a great spot, he won't be there at 10 for you. People will be all over the kid. But if he's in a crafty, underrated, kind of has to rise up from the phoenix and the ashes, then he'll be there at 10, but he's still going to be more of a gamble because his situation was so bad he's falling to 10. I would probably say McMillan's safer, but I just want to let you know that the one thing that I always tell people is the thing you can almost guarantee and bank on. We got BBQ dropping 50 gifted memberships. Let me fix the alerts because the alerts aren't working right now. Let me just make this one change, and they should be going. BBQ dropping 50 gifted memberships. If you got a gifted membership right now from BBQ, please thank BBQ. What BBQ is doing with that is not only giving you access to all the emojis, and your name turns green. You've got all the emojis. You can now drop all the emojis you see people drop all the time. Just click on the little face, the icon. But he's also potentially opening up more gifted memberships because when we hit certain plateau or certain thresholds, YouTube gives us another emoji. So everybody, please thank our boy for dropping the freaking gifted memberships. What I'll say is this, Bianca. The one thing is certain in life is that your draft pick will always gain value as you approach draft day. Right now, it's just a pick. It's 1.10. Just like 1.1 is the 1.1. You never hear anybody say, should I trade Genty for this player? They say right now in February, March, would you trade the 1.1 for whatever? Because no one knows what everybody thinks. Everyone knows Genty's probably the 1.1, but they want to make sure that you know that it's the 1.1. Because if they said Genty and somebody like wide receiver, their advice might be different. So they want to give you all the information, the 1.1. But once it becomes Genty, once the 1.1 is synonymous with Genty, once Tet McMillan's a locked in 1.2, the values go up. So the 1.10, there is a world where I regret giving you this advice, and I see somebody there I like better than McMillan. But McMillan is safer, Bianca. He's a good player, very good player. I just don't know what I'm going to feel later.
I think that's the best way to put it, is that you're betting on the safety as opposed to potential upside, because without knowing landing spots, he's looking at one of the top 3 or 4 running backs,
let me drop
the second tight end.
Let me drop a poll.
Third, 4th or 5th wide receiver.
Or just vote in the chat. Yeah, I agree. Vote in the chat. McMillan or the 1.10, what would you do? Let's give a little bit of help and assistance to Bianca. Okay, Togo with a $2 hauler. Appreciate you. Smitty, how early are you drafting Travis Hunter and IDP? I don't know yet. Like we said, he could break IDP. It also depends if your IDP scoring incorporates offensive scoring. You might just assume it does. You got to look into your draft product that you draft on and your platform. There's a possibility, just like how a NFL wide receiver that returns kicks might not get the touchdowns in some leagues in terms of them scoring that 6 points if they return a kick for a touchdown, and they might. It depends on your scoring. If your IDP format allows Hunter to be a wide receiver and score all of the wide receiver points, not just the touchdowns or whatever, then he could break IDP. And to be honest with you, I have no clue where I'd take him. We don't do a lot of IDP content on here, and in turn, I don't play a lot of IDP myself, not because I don't know it. It's just not, I could play a league with offensive linemen. I know I know all the positions, but it doesn't mean I want to just add them to my fantasy football experience. I grew up playing this way. I enjoy it. Not to mention, I'm not all about views and where the money's at, but no one cares about IDP to the same degree they do non-IDP. And you might say, oh, but IDP is growing. Doesn't matter. It's growing, but it's still minute. And if I create an IDP show, then all my normal followers will all fade back from that show and the views will tank. Doesn't matter if it's an untapped area. I don't want to do it. I don't enjoy it. But he could break IDP, bro. It's hard to say. It is so hard to say. My best advice would be, and if you could do this while we're live right now, Togo, it would be pretty amazing. Go back and find the most productive IDP the most productive player that ever, like, I don't know if you could search it, that ever somewhat played offensive snaps, took some snaps, try and figure out what their highest stat line was and what they scored that year in fantasy versus another year or something, or against the field. Just try and figure it out. If this guy, or you could just go into your scoring and be absolutely certain and put in 706 touchdowns and 45 receptions. Add those numbers up, throw it onto the defensive back 8 or 10, and see what the total ranks. Do that. That's going to be easier for you to do. Let's give him 700 yards, 6 touchdowns, 45 receptions, just to lowball it. Add those points up in your scoring. Add it to the DB number 10 or number 8. Do number 8. No, do number 10. And then come back and let us know where that would score in your IDP scoring. Would he be number 1? Would he be 3? Let's see what that does, and then we'll circle back. Travis, real quickly, what do you think about the chances of Stafford and the Rams not agreeing to a long-term deal? And if it's to work out and him to remain in LA, he's got to let go of the fact that they're not giving him a long-term deal versus him making a stink and trying to get out of Dodge because he's not getting a long-term deal. Everyone keeps thinking, oh, they're just going to keep him. They won't give a long-term deal, but they're going to keep him. But he might not. His wife might not want him playing on a one-year deal.
Yeah, is he just on the 1 year? There's nothing beyond this year. Is that what it is?
I'll put his contract on the screen here. It's basically he's the team. It's no more guaranteed money, I believe, is what it is. So it's a 2-year deal, but no guaranteed money. Base salary $23 million in 2025. It's a 2-year deal, or 2 years left on the deal, but. It's the cap hit. What was it? I want to say they said it was. I think if they cut them at a certain date, the contracts are complex. Potential out in 2025, 3 years, 125. So their potential out is in 2025. Maybe that 26 salary gets guaranteed if they keep him on the roster, though. I'd have to look at the details of the contract.
Okay, yeah.
Because there's a lot in paragraph 5 that. That we kind of don't usually have at our fingertips.
The way I look at it is a guy with, he hasn't been overly injured, but he's had a decent amount of injuries and concerning ones, and his age, let's see, I think 37. He can't demand. I could understand him wanting next year, like with some guarantees in it, at least half of it guaranteed, something like that, but. He's not in much of a position to demand beyond next year. So
he isn't. The reason why, and so BBQ's asking the same question. He's saying, why would they trade him? Or he's asking it from a different angle. But the thing is, it's not that they want to trade him. It's that if he's going to put up a fuss, right? He's going to put up a stink, and he's going to create a bad dynamic where he's not there. He's an injury-prone player, and he says, I want guaranteed money. I want a long-term deal. I want an extension. They're going to call his bluff probably. There's going to be some back and forth. But if he's not showing up and they're not feeling the like, think about it from this perspective, BBQ. If they're not feeling it enough to give him a long-term deal, then it's volatile. Like it's fractured to a small degree, a little tiny hairline fracture. And if he's gonna, not show up, and it's gonna ruin the flow of the offseason and the preparation for 2025, then they're basically telling you we don't believe in his long-term value. So if push comes to shove, we'll trade him. If they said, hey, we want to sign him to a long-term deal. We love Stafford. We want to hear for 3 years. We're just not agreeing on the numbers. That would be different. But the vibe is, and everybody's suggesting, and again, this is speculation, smoke season, that they're not committed to his long-term value. They're worried about his health. They're worried about him staying healthy. They're worried about him dropping off. They don't want to commit 2-3 years. The Rams are very smart. Even though they're not like the top team, they're very smart with their deals. They're very smart with their personnel. They're very smart with everything. And And Matthew Stafford's wife, and I believe Stafford to some degree, you wouldn't know it based on the field, on the rapport between the two this past season. But apparently Miss Stafford and Stafford are upset about Cooper Kupp. And, you know, their bond is strong, and they're just discarding Cooper Kupp. And their chance of discarding Stafford, even though he's very solid, great fit, you're not wrong, BBQ, they clearly are capable of moving on very fast if they need to and rip a Band-Aid off. I mean, why would you not keep Cooper Kupp when you really think about it? Why would you not keep Cooper Kupp? Why is it not affordable for this year when you were literally like a couple plays away from advancing and becoming this team that may have surprised the whole field and marched all the way to a NFC championship game or something? You had the capability potentially of doing that. And they're just going to get rid of Kupp. I understand Kupp might be washed, but they clearly could move on like that. And they're a solid organization that could find a quarterback pretty easily. Aaron Rodgers wants to play there. Hold on one second, Travis. Aaron Rodgers wants to play there. They could try and maneuver into using Stafford and some picks into a Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders replacement. They could try and go after Justin Fields potentially. There's options here, and if they don't believe in Stafford staying healthy and not falling off, then they'll trade him if they're pushed to the brink.
Yeah, I was saying that the other night is that I think now, well, first of all, because Puka and Kyron are so young, but also I think the fact that they got Jared Verse and he played so well, which helped, you know, them losing Aaron Donald. I think that left a big question mark when Aaron Donald left. It was kind of like, well, what will this defense be? You know, so Jared Verse fills that hole pretty well. And I think they've shown with the way they've drafted since they've gotten their picks back and how young these guys are. I think if they had their wits about it, like if they given truth serum, they would almost say, let's just turn the page, get a new quarterback and go. But since he's there, if he's willing to play on that short-term contract, okay, we'll play it out. We'll try to find another quarterback while we do it. But they're so young, they can quickly turn that page, and you have to give them the benefit of the doubt with what they've done there in terms of developing guys.
Yeah, I at the end of the day, like, they want to keep him. They've got something good going. They made it far. We're not sleeping on Dart, Terry. We talk about Dart. Dart's definitely the third quarterback, and if there's going to be one player, Terry, we've made it pretty abundantly clear Dart would be probably the guy. So we're not sleeping on him. I think at this point, it really just comes down to how fractured is this thing under the surface level. Because right now we all think it's hunky-dory. Stafford is throwing to Puka. Puka's getting the ball. Stafford's got to be happy where he's at, right? Not necessarily. Because unhappy Matthew Stafford's wife, unhappy life. And she is obviously not thrilled with the Rams right now. And the fact that she's dropping bombs all over social media and speaking for him and saying that, to be honest, her quote was something to the degree of, I didn't really want to go here. Of course you did. Of course she did. She acts like she doesn't want to talk about it. She's like, I didn't really want to go here. Why are you on a podcast doing an interview anyway? But I didn't want to go here, but, you know, Cooper Kupp, you know, the way they did that, like she's just talking trash about that. You know, Stafford believes that because she tells Stafford what to do and what to think. So if she thinks, you know, Stafford was mistreated, then so does he. But I do agree Stafford was mistreated. I'm sorry, Kupp has been mistreated. Kupp has earned, in my opinion, the ability to stay on that team. The fact that they're moving on so quickly, letting him know you're gone. Like, not, hey, what could we work out? We want to renegotiate a little bit, or what could we do? No, we're moving on from you, pal. And I get it. He didn't do anything. I understand. And like I said, part of me wonders what in the hell is going on between Stafford and Kupp, because I watched the film. I rewatched almost every play of Cooper Kupp. I didn't see enough of a drop-off that he should have been completely ignored. It didn't make any sense. He does laser lock. I don't know that he can do two things at once. I think he's got to really, the way he plays, he's got to commit to one guy, and that's it. And so, you know, if he went over to the Giants, man, Nabers would go to the moon for 2025 because Stafford would make him the highest targeted receiver in the National Football League. So I like the move. The train wreck mentality that I say that everybody shouldn't have, that they want to have. They want to see something happen and change. Look, you take Stafford out of L.A., that sucks for Puka Nacua. It does. You can say Puka Nacua is going to be the same player until you're blue in the face, but all that tells me is you own Puka Nacua in 17 leagues. If Stafford got ripped from the Rams and sent over to New York, Puka Nacua would not even come close to earning number 4, number 5 overall value. I'm sorry. He just wouldn't. He would not. He would not. Mark my words, you would be feeling regret if you draft Puka Nacua at 5, 6, 4, whatever, wide receiver 2, if Stafford was not the quarterback. You would live in regret all season long. I mean, you got to own him in like 17 leagues to be thinking that things will be the same. But when one door closes a little bit, it doesn't close that much. He's still a second rounder, but he's not a first rounder anymore. He's not. I'm sorry. But when one door closes on Puka a little bit, it's still open. It opens like crazy for Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers is the number one. Like, he's already quietly my dark horse too behind Jamar Chase. He might be the number one targeted wide receiver in 2025 if Stafford's a giant. But that doesn't mean it's going to happen. This is all smoke. Stafford could be literally just trying to get money. His wife could say, try to, bluff him, whatever. And at the end of the day, again, I got to look at his contract. I know there's no more guaranteed money on his contract if they were to move on from him. But I wonder if something gets activated. I'll have to look at his contract. If they keep him on the roster, what it does to his next 2 years, because there is 2 years on the deal. It's just an out for the team. It's an out for 2025. They can get out free and clear, but if they commit to him, I'm not sure what that money looks like for 2026, because he will then have 2 years left. He wants a long-term deal, though. He wants a long-term deal. I don't know why, because he's contemplating retirement. Like, that's another thing that I don't understand. He's like, I might want to step away from the game. This is like 2 years ago. And now he wants a long-term deal? Kind of sounds like Brandon Ayuk to me. Trying to rob me of my $30 million a year over in San Francisco. That's what this feels like. The Rams are not stupid. They're not a stupid organization. And even though Stafford's playing well, he is teeter-tottering on that decline year. You don't know if it's this year. It could be 2 years. I think he does have the 1 year left. But giving him this long-term deal is not the most attractive approach. It's like, no, and I love Kyron. But Kyron's a running back who's played multiple years in this league. You don't have 7 years with Kyron. You don't have, you might have to rebuild in like 2 years. So they can't commit and blow all this money. They're a smart organization. And I do believe they would bring in a quarterback that could learn McVay's system, be very good in McVay's system. I don't know that it's Aaron Rodgers, though. Aaron Rodgers, according to reports, likes the idea of the Rams. We haven't heard that out of Aaron Rodgers' mouth. We a lot of times have Aaron Rodgers go on Pat McAfee and they say, so we hear you like the Rams, and he'll say, I did not say that, and I've not even thought about it. This is Adam Schefter, who notoriously speaks out of his rear end in regards to Rodgers, and Rodgers continuously slams him and says, I don't know where you're getting this. You're making it up. So we don't even know if Aaron Rodgers really wants to go to the Rams. That's what the report is. And the news is, and we'll see. Dial in if you guys want to get on the phone line. Phone lines are open. Go ahead, Travis.
I was just going to go back real quick to that McMillan trade. I noticed in the chat a lot of people were saying they want the 1.10 over McMillan. That could be indicative that you might be able to get more than McMillan for the 1.10, especially as you get closer to the draft, like you said. I'm not saying you have to know your league and your league mates, but it's something to keep in mind. I still think it's a good, solid trade, like a safe trade. And I think it might have been Calvin made a good point too. If Godwin leaves, then I almost definitely do it.
Yeah, that's like
the clear number 2.
Yeah, that's why I was saying it's safe. It's a safe move. It's safer to get McMillan, but if you're a dice roller at all, and you want to, like, if you're the kind of person that you make a prediction that the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl, okay, and things were looking good for them, you had only $100 on the line too. It wasn't like you put thousands and thousands, but let's say you put $100 on the line that the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl, and you had the ability to cash out and get like $300 or $500 or let it ride. and get, 2 or 3 grand. If you're the kind of person that would cash out, then take McMillan. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just saying if you're an anxiety type person. But if you're a dice roller and you say, look, I love what I'm looking at here. This 1.10 looks good now. I think that on draft day it'll look even more attractive and the value will go up. And I think I could trade it later. People get excited about the NFL draft and I could move it. And your league, like you said, it's a league where people trade. Then, I do think that there is some possibilities that the 1.10 becomes more valuable than McMillan. But again, in what you're saying, McMillan, if Godwin leaves, and he most certainly will at this point anyway, you never know. He could very much want to stay, and he just says, "I'll take with it, whatever hometown discount. I want to be with my boy Baker Mayfield." And Godwin's a very, very loyal person to Baker and the organization. He's a very stand-up guy. If he leaves, then yeah, McMillan's more valuable. Then all of a sudden you can't even get him for the 1.10. So there's no way to know. There's no way to know. Either way you look at it, the value could increase on both sides. And the one thing I will say though is that we loved Jalen McMillan before the NFL draft, and I liked him a lot. I wanted him to go to Cincy instead of Burton. And this is a player I talked up. I wrote a little thing on our Patreon about him. I like McMillan a lot. And so this is not somebody that just kind of like busted out on the scene. He's not a Westbrook Akine who just happened to have a bunch of touchdowns. This is a kid that I very, very much thought could have been a middle of the first round wide receiver. And he fell for numerous reasons. Teams just kind of wrote him off. A lot of teams look at players with off the field issues or what this and that, and injuries and different things, and they just kind of like let him fall. This is a kid that easily could have been in the top 4 or 5 ranked wide receivers. Could have been number 3, really. You could have if he didn't decline in everyone's mind in the NFL team like perspective. If he didn't fall for NFL teams, and everybody goes, okay, well teams are doubting him, so I can't believe in him as much, right? That's not natural, not smart, that's logical. But if he had not fallen in the eyes of the NFL teams and he was going to go high and he was going to go number 15 overall, number 14 overall, there's for sure a scenario where he's more valuable than Ladd McConkey walking into this upcoming season.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that now. I'm saying that there is a scenario that if a team like the Chargers invested in him, like teams should have, he could be in a different situation. He got drafted into a situation where long-term he could be the one, which is awesome. He's got tremendous dynasty appeal. Godwin gone, let's say. Mike Evans is aging out, has one more good year left. He becomes the one. So his situation will evolve into as good a situation as Ladd McConkey has long-term and for the now. But he fell into his rookie year into a role where he couldn't be anything but the wide receiver 3. And then Godwin goes down. Now he's the 2, but he's still the 2. Ladd's the 1. Ladd had an advantage. The reason Ladd looks so much better than McMillan is because Ladd has a better situation, which might not be the case a year from now. I'm talking myself into McMillan. I would go McMillan.
Yeah. I think so too. And it's a good point too, because going into the draft, people forget Ladd didn't have outstanding numbers in college. So it's not like
great route runner, great hands,
right? Exactly,
good precision. Like Ladd had
he only
a
played
lot
nine games his last year in college.
I want to say we ranked Ladd 4, 5, or 6 in the pre-NFL draft ranking show, and so I really like Ladd a lot. The reason I didn't like Ladd a lot last year at cost of entry, which honestly I was wrong, was I just didn't buy into that Harbaugh would lean on him enough, and Harbaugh ended up throwing a lot more because by the necessity.
Yeah, the second half they
had to, but they definitely weren't intending, I think, and that's where my doubt is the intention that they couldn't execute upon. They had to go in a different direction. Ladd's a great player. I think Ladd's getting a little overdrafted in like the top of round 2, like 14, 15 overall is just too high for me. It's not that I don't like him. Doesn't mean you have to hate a player just because you don't draft him at their ADP, but I think it's too high. You're drafting him at a ceiling. Like, could McMillan next year be very close to Ladd? He could. You know?
Yeah, sure.
So, anyway. All right. BBQ, thank you again for the 50 gifted memberships, my boy. Appreciate you guys. If you got one, please thank BBQ for that. Last question, Travis, then I'll let you go and I'll come back tonight.
Yep.
What was the other piece of news? Sam Darnold. So I think I've cracked the case. I think I've cracked the case, and I think the Vikings are smart enough. They're a smart organization, smart head coach, clearly coach of the year, and an amazing system, great at building talent. I think I cracked it. I think that they're franchise tagging Darnold no matter what, in my view, or they should anyway. Whether they may not do what I think is most logical, but it's the most logical move to tag Darnold no matter what and have that Doc Holliday, I don't care about anything mentality, you know, and just say, look, if we tag him and no one wants to come knocking, so be it. We want him anyway. Like, and they do. Part of the Vikings they do want to bank on him. We got to remember, they picked this guy up on their shoulders and marched him around the locker room, and he only had really, like, we'll call it like 2 bad games after that point. You really gonna just unravel all those feelings off of 2 bad games? Players have bad games all the time. Mahomes had a bad game in the Super Bowl. It happens. I mean, I think we take more notice because Darnold, we were waiting for him to turn into a pumpkin again. And I'm not like the biggest Darnold fan, but the Vikings believe in him. They like him. And so I think it's the most logical move for this team to tag him no matter what. And just like when you aren't paying attention to the lady that you're trying to impress, you look more attractive, okay, than this desperate guy trying to get attention. You're doing your own thing. You got your own thing going. Denny knows what I'm talking about. Denny's on the line. The Vikings are going to be able to trade him a lot easier if their intentions are, we're just going to tag him and play him. And then if we tag him again the next year and then work out a deal, we'll do it. Like, if he's the real deal for one more year, we'll be happy to pay him a long-term contract, give him a long-term contract in 2026. But we're just going to tag him and play him, and hopefully McCarthy unseats him, and it's a 1-year commitment. This is the perfect version of what the Falcons wish they could have done with Cousins and didn't. There's no other play here. You don't let Darnold walk. The amount of money you're committing in 2025 is a lot, but who cares? You're a contender. And it's a beautiful, you have the most secure QB room in your mind, you know, out of most teams. So I think they're going to tag. I don't know what you think about it, but I think they're going to tag him. I don't think Darnold, unless somebody makes them an offer they can't refuse, which is always possible, like the Giants on the tag. I think Darnold's in Minnesota. What do you think, Travis? Then I'll go over to Denny for his thoughts.
Yeah, I think that's the most logical. I mean, like you said, they're confident in what they did to develop him or bring him up to his ability. And I mean, they had one of the best seasons the franchise ever had record-wise. So it's like, why wouldn't you want to run that back one more time and see what you can do?
We need perps in here.
It would be a different story if JJ McCarthy was, you know, fully healthy or chomping at the bit, chomping at his ankles, you know, the last half of last year. But you know, he's still a question mark. Like, he could still be very good, but we don't know. So why wouldn't you run it back? And there's not much to lose.
And McCarthy's a little shaky to be ready. And so this gives you the ability to start Darnold, let McCarthy still get healthy, work under him. And if Darnold falters, then McCarthy comes in as a savior. And you only have the money's already spent. You don't care. You're not going to keep Darnold in the lineup if he's struggling, because you don't have Kirk Cousins had the long-term deal. He had $100 million guaranteed. So you had a little bit more tendency to leave him in longer, given the money he's already paid and done. You just franchise tag him out, you slap it on him. if they paid him the franchise tag and had him play, and again, he's got no leverage because what's he going to do? Hold out, let McCarthy take his job back while he's holding out, and then he's a backup quarterback, and then nobody wants to give him a deal in 2026 because he fermented on the bench and gained cobwebs? He can't play that game. He's got to go out there and say, thank you, sir, for giving me the average of the top 5 in the league for 1 year. I didn't have that before you came into my life. And you say, give me another. Thank you, sir. Can I have another? Denny, what do you think?
Ooh, I'm kind of with you there, Smitty. Hey, Travis. I'm kind of with you there, Smitty, but I'm very confused about the whole thing.
Yeah, that's understandable, Denny.
So,
been a long day.
First of all, Smitty, thanks for being my friend and dealing with me when I'm disrespectful to the whole thing.
Denny,
you always have my back.
How do I put this without offending you? You're the Beetlejuice or Stuttering John of this show, and sometimes you go off on the off the handle, but you're always going to be forgiven.
I don't mean any disrespect.
I don't care if you call in and say, Smitty, you're a dog, you're a piece of junk, and you hung up. I probably still forgive you, Denny, when you called in the next time.
You always forgive me.
You've done it before.
We got a whole argument about.
I didn't get in an argument. One time you went off the handle on me in the comments, and you thought I wasn't answering the phone line because you were calling when the show I did a live premiere, and the show ended, and you were calling, and you thought I wasn't answering, and I wasn't live, and you were in the comments bad mouthing me like crazy. I let it go. I let it go. I bring it up a lot, but I let it go. I don't care.
No.
Beetlejuice does that from time to time. You know what I'm talking about, Beat? All right, Denny, what do you think about Sam Darnold? Is he going to be in Minnesota? Is he going to be elsewhere? Where do you think Stafford goes if he gets traded or anything? Or do you think Stafford? It's all paper tiger conversation.
Great question. I picked up on Dynasty Wanted. I snagged Donald Wanted a couple of years ago, which is kind of a nice move if you really think about it. I picked him up for a song and a dance, and he's doing all right. Wanted. I don't know what he's going to do, but he's got value, right, Smitty?
He does. Hey, Denny, I'm going to do a thing on this show where when someone has a solid take, I might let them accrue sort of points, and then have them not accrue points. Maybe take points away. Can I get a few things from you? Can I have you yell +1 point? Go. Oh, hold on. Let me mute the music, and then I want you to say.
Well, you gotta tell me what to say, man.
I want you to say +1 point, and then I want you to say take away a point. Give me both. Go.
+1 point. Take away a point. I thought that was perfect.
We're gonna use that. We're gonna use that. I like that.
I love when you use me because do you use Tomas? Is that my voice, Tomas?
The what? What voice?
It's Tomas.
No, Tomas? No.
I think it's me.
No, this right here. This right here.
Tomas.
No.
Horrible.
Maybe when you have a couple too many, that might sound a little like it.
Horrible. Thanks for being my friend, though.
The Jupiter Men. Jupiter is so large.
I know I get a lot of lies sometimes.
Hey, Denny, what do you think? What do you think of this right here?
Smitty, can I just ask you one thing? Can we do karate in the garage? 'Cause they want it. Dead already. I don't know. I think that's perfect. I find that perfect. Yeah. Whoever said that is a genius.
Yeah, voice of an angel. Voice of an angel. You have a fan club, but you also have a group of haters. There's a couple guys that are real loyal to the show that say, "Less Denny, get Denny out of here." But you've made it when you have like a handful of consistent, haters. So congratulations, Denny.
I'd like to think the ones that want to keep me up. Keep me on, and
lift you up.
Then put them against the ones that want me off the show. I find them really good guys. Thank
Yeah.
you guys.
Hey.
I think I'm a good guy.
You are a good guy. Denny, can I get a worst take of the day and then best take of the day? I'm going to also include that. Go ahead.
Worst take of the day. Smitty's best take of the day.
No, not my take. Just say best take of the day.
Best take of the day.
I like it. Thank you. That's good.
I remember it again. Well, Smitty's good. He's a good boy.
Thank you, Denny. All right, Denny. Wait, try. Give me two more takes of that. Best take of the day, worst take of the day. Give me something. Give me something a little different. Go.
Best take of the day. Worst take of the day. I don't know. It's the voice of an angel, but I don't know. Maybe people are talking about people. No, I don't.
All right. Hey, Denny, I'm going to go. Travis, anything else? Denny, I'm going to end the call on both of you at the same time. That way Denny feels special. He's not kicked out first.
All good.
All good? Everybody's good? I'll be back tonight.
Yep.
We'll draft tonight. We'll have a topic tonight. Yeah. All right, Denny. Travis, see you later. Can I get a people talking on the way out?
People talking about people. They say we stand just a little too close.
Hey, Denny, I'm gonna leave you singing with the credits up for the next 30 seconds. So keep going.
We talk just a little too loud. Let's give them something to talk about. Travis, let's give them something to figure out. I don't know. What the fuck? I don't. Travis never takes crap off anybody. Love you guys. Anything, so let me cover it. Smitty had me on the graveyard when I was a little baby, and I just wanted my name on the graveyard thing because a buddy of mine said, "You gotta listen to this show. It's Smitty." I go, "Smitty's awesome," and I started talking to him. I liked him. And he would put me on his show. And then he would put me on the, all I wanted was to be on the,
Hey, Denny, whatever happened to that guy that you said was mad at me and he called in and he ended up getting, I think, like kicked out of the chat because he started running his mouth. But we haven't heard. What was his name?
Keelan.
Who?
Vinny.
Yeah, Vinny was he went off his rocker. I forget what was the topic. Why was he mad at me? Was it Caleb?
Oh, it was something you said, but it was so. And you were right. I had your back the whole time.
I was right again. I think I smashed you.
Oh, I had your back. At the end of the day, I always have your back. No, it was so. But then I was at his crib, and you went to the phone, and I put the phone in his face to, just to talk it out. And he smashed the phone and went, I go, well, you ain't one of us. It was
he's not like us. He's not like us. All right.
He's not like us.
All right, hey,
No,
Denny, I'm ending the show. I'm not going to talk again. It's just you. Okay, you can go back and rewatch it. 30 seconds of your singing, and then I'm going to hit the end button. See you later.
I'm gonna love you like the heavens, stars still rain. I'm gonna love you till the stars fall from the sky. Oh, you and I got ba-ba-da. Love you, friend. That's the DOS.